Ultimate Invasion Issue 3 heads to the funeral of Obadiah Stane, where Howard and Tony solemnly send their friend off to the afterlife. Later at the graveyard, Howard raises a drink to his fallen friend, hoping he will sleep well. Tony asks what he's going to do now, but Howard asks his son what he would think about running away from all of this to live a quiet, peaceful life. Tony would love nothing more than to do that with his father, but he knows that that's not happening. He asks his father what happened at the attack on Lataveria, as 2 days prior, Howard finds himself in a meeting with other world leaders. He meets Emmanuel da Costa, who has been following his work for years, and it's unfortunate they have to meet under circumstances like this. Da Costa knows that Howard feels a little out of place, and the man knows he tried to introduce himself to Yoshida, but the Silver Samurai stopped him. Emmanuel knows that that's protocol, since no one speaks to the Sun Emperor while he has his mask on. Instead, they have to talk to his voice, the woman named Viper. Emmanuel knows though that it's better off waiting until Sun Emperor removes his mask and is free to talk. He warns him how the upper and lower kingdoms follow similar rules, and Ra only talks when the sun is setting and Khonshu only talks when there is a full moon. Henry Dugari comes by to meet Howard, who learns that the man carries the Sword of Might and the Amulet of Right, making him the rightful ruler of the EU. Hulk comes by, asking if they know what this meeting is about, but none of the men seem to know what it is. Hulk regrets the events that led to Howard being part of these meetings, suspecting the attack was trying to destabilize what they have built there, and while he hates violence, if it turns out to be true, he will become quite angry. Ilyana storms into the room, demanding to know who attacked them and where the Maker is. Howard is surprised that they all round up in the meeting with the Rasputins, since they are the enemy. Emmanuel doesn't think that Obadiah explained how this all works, and gives Howard pause, making him think that he probably should have listened to his friend. Hulk reveals that in this room there are no such things as enemies, but Howard reminds him that the Eastern conflict happened and there's events in the Pacific and the Winter Apocalypse that happened as well. Hulk knows that's the world Howard knows, and if he looks around he'll see several major territories are represented there, and at one time or another, each was playing the quote-unquote bad guy, and this time it's just the Rasputins. Hulk explains how one territory will take over from the next and the cycle continues, and it's all to focus the citizens' eyes on external threats and away from internal failures. Also, the illusion of peace can be kept. He knows that the Maker believes that this is good because it works, and it does indeed work for the greater good. Howard struggles with his entire worldview being broken, finding it to be the most insidious thing he's ever heard. Emmanuel doesn't think he won't like what comes next, and for good reason. Emmanuel reveals that the Maker studied the problem through several experimental societies inside his city, and he learned that peace isn't successful long term, since humanity is incapable of accepting it. Hulk assures him though that not all of them agree with Maker's assumptions, since he believes that people can achieve a state of inner calm, and he has devoted his life to it. However, he knows most can't keep it going for long, or handle the quiet and inaction. He does wish it wasn't true as the Maker arrives, telling them that it is indeed true and always has been. Maker thinks that focusing on the shortcomings of the human nature makes it easier for them to gloss over why they did this, which is that the little people hate that they are giants who rule the land, and it's not how it used to be, and people hate change, which is why it is necessary and a good thing to do. Howard now believes that finding this insidious was being far too kind, but the Maker doesn't care, since it doesn't change who they are and who Howard is, which is one of the rich, powerful elite, one of them. Howard does have one question though. Since if this is all to keep the people happy so they can get on with the important work, then what is that important work? Maker thinks he's finally getting somewhere, as in the present, Howard and Tony take the chopper to Starkstane Tower, with Howard again turning to drink to cope with what he knows. Tony asks his father what they're going to do about all of this stuff with the Maker, but Howard doesn't have any idea, asking his son if he's got any bright ideas. Tony thinks they should fight them, but Howard knows that will just prove Maker's point, and they also might lose. Tony tells him that there is right and wrong, and this is all wrong, but Howard knows his son is mistaking right and wrong for good and evil. Tony asks if Obadiah really knew about this, but Howard is unsure, liking to pretend that his friend didn't know, and he was always the guy that he knew and grew up with, but he will never get the answer to that question. Tony still believes that they should fight and they should win, as the Starks arrive at the tower and Howard reveals that he has some ideas, so Tony has to give him a couple of weeks before he can really start being disappointed in his old man. Tony wants to come and help him, but Howard says the whole point of him fighting is so that his son can outlive them all, but if he needs him, he'll call. Before Howard heads off in his jet, Tony warns him to be careful, and Howard knows that careful doesn't come with winning, heading off in the Stark jet. The day before, Howard is taken through the Maker's lab in the city, city, told that this is the place where some true genius work is done. Maker tells him that this will be his lab and he'll build the Immortus machine there, and he wants Howard to meet his lab partner. Howard knows he works better alone, but Maker introduces him to this world's Reed Richards, knowing that some call him the smartest man in the world, and Maker agrees with that. Howard finds Reed wears a metal mask and doesn't talk all that much. As in the far future, more Avengers clones are created and rallied by Captain America, who says that 4,000 years of careful genetic engineering was all for nothing, but they didn't yield. Thor says that they now have 6,000 years of better clone stock and their armies have been remade, so how much longer must they wait for an attack? Their leader silences them with a wave of his hand, showing them images of Latveria and how the Maker hides away, and he is an ageless immortal while the Maker is a creature of a temporal vault, hiding away. He asks his men what they say to pretenders like him, and the Avengers know they say that their time has come. The leader is revealed to be Kang the Conqueror, who says that their time to fight is now.